Welcome back to How to Craft Fair. This is episode number 14 in the How to Become a Craft Fair Vendor series. Today we're going to be talking about engaging shoppers at a craft fair. So in previous videos in this series, we've already discussed how to present your items and how to present your booth. Now we're going to talk about how you should present yourself and how best to communicate to shoppers at a craft fair. If you enjoy the tips in today's video, please like and subscribe to the channel because we have a really great community that's building here. And if you check the comment section in previous videos, there's tons of additional tips that float in from subscribers. So it's a really good community, and come and join us if you like the video. So my first recommendation is to stand if possible during all parts of the craft fair. I know that it's a long day and it can be tiring, but you should be standing if possible. It just presents a more engaging and present posture. And then you also have to keep in mind too that you yourself are an extension and a reflection of your products. So if you look slouched over and uninviting, so does your product. And that's what people are going to think. They're going to make that connection between how you look and then how your items look, regardless if you have your items presented in a nice professional manner. So just do yourself a favor and stand up for as much of the show as you possibly can. And that way it's going to make people feel a little bit more comfortable and inviting into the booth. My second tip is to smile and say hi. So when somebody makes the choice to stop at your booth, recognize that. Be happy that they chose to stop at your booth when they saw your creations. Okay, so don't take it for granted. And saying hi to a shopper is a quick acknowledgement, and it just shows that you're grateful that they stopped by your booth. And it also lets them know that you're there if they need you for any kind of questions or anything like that. So it's very simple, but it can be such a common thing that's overlooked and kind of taken for granted at craft fairs. So, when somebody comes into that booth, just make sure that you say hi and give them a smile. Okay, now as far as sales tactics, the first tip I have is to never be overbearing. Never hound or pounce on your shoppers. It's going to make them feel very uncomfortable and they are going to flee your booth. Think about what it feels like when you go to look for a new car and you're in that sales lot and you have somebody come up to you, but think about how you feel when they say hi and they let you know that they're available if you have any questions, but then they let you browse in peace. Isn't that like a nice relief and a nice change of pace? So consider that tactic when you're at your booth. Let them know that you're there if they need you, but then give them some breathing room so that they can, think for themselves and make a decision that's going to be best for them. Okay, now on the flip side of that, you never want to ignore your shoppers. So not making eye contact or saying hello displays disinterest. And if you aren't interested in your shoppers, why should they be interested in you or your work? So you want to also avoid distractions. Put your cell phone down, take your earbuds out, stop messing around with the Bluetooth speaker. Try your best not to bring your kids if you're going to need to attend to them all day long. So when it comes to distractions and staying focused, you're there for the event. You're there for the shoppers. So that's what your attention has to be on. Okay, so to summarize this section, you want to find your balance. I've laid out basically both ends of the spectrum. One end is being completely distant and disengaged, and then the other end is being overbearing and overwhelming. You want to find your happy space that's going to be between those two, okay? So you want to be present, you want to be available, and you want to be interested, but you also want to give them breathing room and an opportunity to be in your booth essentially uninterrupted. Okay, and another tactic that you can use, especially when you're newer and maybe you don't have like these skills quite down yet, is to read the room, okay? So consider the shopper's body language and do your best to match and mirror their energy. Now, throughout the day, you're gonna have all sorts of different people and personalities walking into your booth. Some people might be a little bit louder, or they're cracking jokes, or they're just kind of a little bit more loose with you. And then some people are kind of quiet and keeping to themselves and a little bit more toned down. if all else fails, what you can do is pretty much just match that energy, and odds are it's going to work in your favor. Okay, now another thing I want to mention is to be genuine. Don't be afraid to be yourself and show some of your personality. Avoid becoming like that pushy, robotic salesperson, okay? Again, you're there as you yourself are an extension of that booth, okay? So your items are one thing. That's basically one doorway into your personality and who you are, but you yourself are there. So you have a great opportunity to make connections with people based on your true personality. So don't forget about that. Okay, and another tip that I have that's communication based and shows you're genuine is to communicate in a way that shows you genuinely care about their experience and their particular needs. If they express interest in something, be sure to recommend items that fit their particular needs. Don't try to upsell everyone and everything just to get as much juice out of that fruit as you possibly can. Just honor what they're looking for and do your best to serve each shopper individually. Okay, and another thing that you can do to make a connection with your shoppers is to consider doing live demonstrations at your booth. Now, this isn't going to work with like every item in particular, but it can be a fun way for shoppers to make a connection with you and your creations. Their interest and their investment into an item will increase if they see it crafted in person. So just keep in mind that interactive experiences help to increase engagement and interest. All right, now another thing that you definitely want to do is to build trust and confidence by being prepared. Now, you want to know your items inside and out. Be ready for any kind of questions that might come your way regarding the crafting of your items. Memorizing these kind of details and all aspects of your booth is going to lead shoppers to appreciate your expertise and instill trust in you and your work. When shoppers ask you a question, be sure to answer in a confident manner, but don't come across as arrogant. So there's kind of like a fine line there, okay? And it's okay to trust your process and trust your items and stuff like that. But you never want to basically put yourself above other people, that could include the shoppers themselves, or maybe there's other vendors. You want to basically just speak truthfully about your items, and you can be candid with how you make your stuff and why you feel like it's good, or why you feel like it's high quality, but you never want to put other people down to raise yourself up in that process. Okay, and you also should be ready for general questions about the event. So shoppers are probably going to ask you like all sorts of things. Where's the food located? When are the hours? Where's the restrooms? Can I talk to the organizer? Are they here? Like, you'll get asked all sorts of things, okay? And you want to always be helpful and kind in those situations because, yes, you are there to promote your products and your brand, but you are truly a part of that entire event, okay? So you kind of do represent that event, and you want to represent it well, because a lot of times if you communicate well and you speak about the event in a positive manner, that can get back to the organizer. And this is one of the easiest ways to essentially establish a really good working relationship with organizers long-term, potentially, just because you are basically showing that you are taking some responsibility with the event as a whole, okay? Because you are a part of it. All right, so now another thing that you can do to engage with shoppers is to allow them to be hands-on at your booth. Don't be afraid to let shoppers pick up your items. There's a significant amount of data out there that proves shoppers are far more likely to purchase something when they're able to hold it in their hands, okay? It creates an instant bond between them and the item. So don't be afraid to let this occur at your booth. Now, if a shopper does pick up an item, it is okay to ask them if there's a certain color or a certain style product that they're looking for. And when you ask this question, be sure to keep in mind your backup inventory that you've brought to the show, but you don't have displayed out there, okay? So odds are you probably have some additional designs hidden away in totes or boxes underneath the table. And if they mention something, try to keep your stuff packed in a way that's organized where you can access it fairly easily during an event, okay? Because you don't want to miss out on a sale because something is buried or you don't know which box it's in. So keep that kind of organization in mind for when you ask those questions about style or color that you may or may not have actually displayed during the show. Okay, now if you make items that are either extremely fragile or very, very expensive, don't feel pressured to let everybody touch everything, okay? Letting shoppers be hands-on with items is a technique that's going to apply well to some booths, but might not be ideal for other booths, and that's okay. Now, when you let people be hands-on with your items at your booth, you just have to kind of be prepared for some annoyances along the way. One of the prime examples is somebody picks something up and then they look at it and then they set it down in a completely different spot. Or, people saying ignorant things like, I can make this for cheaper. Well, then go ahead, do it, whatever. You just basically have to be ready for those kind of things to happen. And as long as you let them just fall off your shoulder, like, you're going to be fine. All right. So another tip as far as interacting with your shoppers is to show gratitude to both browsers and buyers. You want to genuinely thank shoppers for stopping at your booth, even if they don't make a purchase. Kindness and appreciation can really leave a lasting positive impression on people, and it may actually encourage them to remember you and your crafts for future events, or maybe even later on during the same event. I want you to think about how you felt when you made your first ever sale at a craft fair. Like, how elated were you? And when somebody makes a purchase at your booth, try to renew that enthusiasm and happiness that you had from that day, and try to treat all buyers with that same good energy that you had during your first sale. All right. And as they say, practice makes perfect, right? So practice if needed. Have your family or friends play the role of the shopper and have them ask you questions about your prices, about your inspiration to make the items, how they're made, your experience overall, and anything else that basically comes to their mind. Maybe they'll throw a couple of curveballs at you, and that's actually kind of like the best form of practice there is, because although you're familiar with the person, if they start asking you a couple of things that you're not ready for, that's going to be a pretty good reenactment of what's going to go down at a craft fair. So your comfort and your confidence, as this grows, it's going to translate to the feeling that the shopper gets when they're talking to you and talking about your items. So, like, the more accustomed that you get to doing this, even if it's just practicing, when you go out and you do it for real, it's going to show, okay? And it is going to make a big difference when it comes to shoppers' faith in you and shoppers' interest in your items. Okay, so that was episode number 14 in the How to Become a Craft Fair Vendor series. Now, if you have any other tips, please drop them in the comments below. This has been something really cool that's been happening on a lot of my videos, and it's always nice to have these additional tips to really kind of fill in the loose ends and the gaps that I have during the videos. So if you liked today's video, please consider liking and subscribing. And if you want to check out all the other videos in the How to Become a Craft Fair Vendor series, check out the playlist above. And thank you all so much for watching.